To those that don't know, I'm a member of parliament for the Greater Athlone area. I was informed by our leader of opposition in the province, Cameron Dugmore, and also the leader of in opposition in the city, Sotash, that we must be here. It's part of a multi-party that's arranged by a government entity, yourself, Human Rights Commission, and we were given permission to provide oversight facility to the camp. I also did phone phone provincial commissioner, General Matakata, and I also phoned the Minister Becky Taylor. We in a crisis, in a pandemic, and so the national command takes jurisdiction of everything, and so it's not acceptable, Reverend. It's not acceptable that we are not allowed to be here. I've walked in, I've defied those people there. I've walked in, I've defied them, and for me it's important that we just get to the bottom of this, Reverend. I'm not sure. Hello, alles okay? Yeah. So we are just here. I've got the most senior officer from the police. Just introduce yourself and rank.
I'm Brigadier Letsoalo, the acting cluster commander of Mitchell's Plain.
Thank you for coming, Brigadier. We did make the request for the police to help us unlock the situation, and we are grateful that you are here. And thank you for your presence. We appreciate it. Is there anything you want to say?
No, I'm fine. We're here to support you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, ma'am, who are you?
My name's Reverend Annie Kirk. I'm with More Than Peace.
Yes.
And I'm one of the accredited monitors with the South African Human Rights Commission.
Yeah, okay,
I've
I'll
been
talk to you
working
now.
with Commissioner Nissen on monitoring this site and some other places during the lockdown.
Nice to meet you, Reverend. My name is Faiz Jacobs. I'm the Member of Parliament for the National Assembly. We also have an oversight responsibility here. So I also feel a sense that we need to have this. What's your impressions? Have you been inside? Have you checked?
We've been here nearly every day since it opened on Sunday. And then the Human Rights Commission invited a team to do an independent assessment. So I brought a team here last Saturday with different people. There was a doctor from Doctors Without Borders. We had a gender violence specialist, a social care worker, a human rights advocate, different people from different sectors to come and do an assessment, and then we produced that and we submitted it to the Human Rights Commission a few days ago with recommendations as well. And those recommendations...
Maybe you just want to share with me as a Member of Parliament, what was your initial findings and some of that recommendations?
So our initial findings were that we understand that this was set up under the COVID-19 national regulations, and it's a shelter which has been established so that street-based people have a place where they'll be compliant with those regulations in terms of physical distancing and upholding hygiene, hand washing, all the health implications. And so our biggest concern was around that. When you go into the tents, just
give me and some of the people out there a sense. We couldn't. What is happening? Just give us the layout.
Sure. So over here you have a health tent.
That big one there at the back.
Yeah. So when people arrived, they were screened here, but then this tent has been put up for screening subsequently. So as people arrive, they're taken through that for screening. We're told by the city's health officials that they are screened for COVID-19 and that they're screened for TB. And that behind it you'll see some more tents. There's 4 tents behind.
Let's just walk that way.
Sure.
Just point me in the direction.
So there's 4 tents behind that one there, and 2 are for TB isolation, male and female, and 2 are for COVID-19 isolation, male and female. We're told that nobody has tested positive, but people have been screened and then isolated to monitor symptoms. We've been told that. We don't know how many. Then you move from there, and the first tent, which you can just see poking up behind there, is the Haven tent. You can see some smaller tents behind it, and then the next tent is Ubuntu and the next tent is Oasis. At first there were
So who's in the Haven tent?
The Haven tent are mostly street-based people from the CBD in the southern suburbs, not as far down as, say, Muizenberg. In the Ubuntu tent, you then have going up more towards Strand, and then in the Oasis tent, it's from Muizenberg going through to Fishhook, Simonstown, and that. So they've tried to put people together in the areas that people were street-based, and where they would have already existing relationships. But they've been really overcrowded. So
it's really overcrowded?
Yeah, well, the national regulations say we can't gather in more than 50 people at a time. Watch out for this truck. But in the Haven tent, after a few days, they were at more than 600.
600 people in one tent? Just show me the Haven tent again.
You just see it poking up over the top there. Yeah, so all the tents are the same size.
So that's the big tent there?
That's a big tent there, yeah.
There's 600 people. Is there separation?
So there were 600. Over the last couple of days, people have been moved into other tents to try to decant, I suppose. But there's still about 350 people in there, so it's still way above the amount that there should be together. And only 2 days ago were markings put down on the floor to try to arrange.
Only 2 days ago?
Yeah.
So there was not proper space provided for family or couples or partners or different people?
So now couples have been moved into another tent. One of the big problems is that men and women were put together from the start. When the the site manager here did try to suggest that there be a separation of men and women, but people said no. However, when we talk to women, they say they don't feel safe here. They want separate spaces. They want the toilets for women to be they want that to be enforced, because men are still using women's toilets and showers and they don't feel safe. There was an allegation of a rape here that's still being investigated. I've spoken to many people in the tent who were present to what took place there, and that needs a thorough investigation. But we do know that there is sex being traded.
Sex being traded? Explain that.
For 20 rand. So sex is being traded for 20 rand. Cigarettes are also being traded. Yesterday, some packs were given out to people in the tents, in the Haven tent, from one of the NGOs, with lots of peanut butter and jam and some fizzy drinks, and already those are being traded with the private security for cigarettes.
Okay, what was your recommendations? A lot of people are calling for this camp to be closed down because of the atrocities. We also feel as members of parliament that the city is keeping us. I had to literally run through the gate and resist arrest from the Metro Police. What was the recommendations? Do you also share the view that this place must be closed?
So I'd like the Commissioner to speak to the recommendations, because they haven't released the report. Today you'll hear from me in the briefing. You'll also hear from someone from Doctors Without Borders, Dr. Gilles. So you'll get a sense of what we assessed and what we saw, and then I think it's up to the Commission to release the recommendations that we had. I think the most important thing, some people want the camp closed, some people believe it can be improved. I would say, I have my personal opinions about that, but no matter what that decision is made, the current circumstances must be improved immediately. Yeah, because it's not complying with the COVID-19 regulations, which is why it exists. You know, so one could say an incubator for the disease has been created by bringing so many people together and putting them in close confinement, and there isn't a management of the regulations in terms of safe distancing and hygiene being upheld. So that's critical, but also that medical services have not been sufficient, and at night there is not a medical team on the site.
No medical people on the
team. So I have been here late into the night when people have there's been epileptic fits. I've heard people have had seizures. I've been there when a man with a catheter, there was blood going into his catheter.
Oh dear.
He became very, very weak, and his respiratory rate was 36 when it should be 16. So I was with a doctor we asked the doctor to call an ambulance. That took several hours. He was finally taken there, treated and returned, and he did much better the next day. but there should be an on-site team who can deal with something like that immediately. I was here earlier.
And tell me the rehab, the issue of a lot of the people on the streets are prone to the immune is low, addiction problem, alcoholism, drug abuse. That's the profile of many. Is there any rehabilitation and counselling facilities here?
I think you'd have to ask the city to speak to that. Speaking to the people who are staying here, they don't report receiving that, and many of them have gone through withdrawal. There hasn't been. The city doesn't provide methadone. They've explained that. At first, there were some NGOs who were coming on site to provide that service to clients that they already knew here, and they were already assisting. But that's been discontinued. I would say quite a lot of them went through withdrawal without the necessary precautions. It's a life-threatening thing to go through withdrawal from heroin.
Yeah, it is a life-threatening, and people get very aggressive, and withdrawals are very extreme.
I've seen people very weak and get sick, vomiting, diarrhea, and also there's a lot of people on chronic medication, antiretrovirals, TB.
TB is a big thing here.
And many people they haven't had their ARVs for up to 3 weeks. Some of them were at Kulenberg before coming here, and there weren't health facilities there, so their chronic meds have run out. So making sure that everybody on chronic meds has their provision is critical. Because you see people getting weaker because they're not getting their meds.
Thank you. Your briefing has really been informative. I appreciate that, and continue the good work that you are doing. Thank you very much.